Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Empire Sports, the home for all your favorite New York State sports teams here on WTOP 10. We have a lot to talk about with the NFL, a major trade between the Sabres and Islanders, and the NBA tips off tonight. I'm Matthew Moran, and tonight my guests are Anthony Doles and Ross Bentley. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah,
Okay, now let's get right off to it. The Giants, 2 weeks ago, 0-6. We talked about they were no chance for them. We were saying Tom Coughlin should be fired. Now all of a sudden, are they back in the NFC East hunt?
Yes, they are. Frankly, because the NFC East is not a very good division. They are definitely back in the hunt. They're only 2 games behind Dallas for the division lead, and they have 1 game against them remaining. They are certainly not out of the hunt yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's crazy how you can lose your first 6 games of the season but still be in it. But that's just the division they play in.
Yeah.
You've got Dallas right there, 4-4. The other teams are still ahead of them, but the Eagles are fading. The Redskins aren't what we expected out of them. So if the Giants could put on a winning streak here, 4 or 5 games, they could be right in the same.
That NFC East is crazy. You have the Eagles, you have the Cowboys, you have the Redskins, and nobody's wanting to take control of that division. Dallas finds ways to lose. We saw how they lost to Detroit right at the last second. Washington, they're getting better. I think as the season progresses, Robert Griffin III is definitely progressing as a quarterback. I think he's getting off that injury report. And also with the Philadelphia Eagles, what is wrong with them? They are just, without Michael Vick, not able to win the NFC East.
Nick Foles played well the 1 week, and then just his game kind of fell off the table. The fact that the 2-6 Giants are still in the race just says something about how mediocre that division is. The Cowboys have all the talent in the world, and it just seems like they should be able to pull away from everyone else with Romo and Des Bryant and Sean Lee on their defense with DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware he's hoping to get back onto that lineup for the defense for the Cowboys.
It's a mystery what's happened to them.
You look at, like Ross said, make a winning streak, win the NFC East. Do you think they have a chance in the playoffs?
When you have Eli Manning, you have a chance.
I don't think so. I think their defense is too suspect. You know, when you look at the one thing that they have going for them is that the Eagles and Cowboys in their division have even worse pass defenses than they do. But I think when right now the Giants have been so inconsistent, they couldn't score points at the beginning of the season. They had really problems defensively. And, you know, I still think right now, talent-wise, Dallas is far and ahead the best team in this division. I think the Giants are creeping up, but I don't think when you look at the Giants against the Saints, against the Packers, against the Seahawks in a playoff environment, I just don't see this year's team being able to pull off an upset.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, we are right at the midpoint of this NFL season, so why don't we give our grades for the Giants, Jets, and Bills? We're already talking about the Giants. Give me your grades right now, 8 games into the season for the Giants.
I give them a C because a lot of their play has just been unlucky. They just have not had great luck. Interceptions have gone off people's foot, bounced into the air, and landed in the other team's hands. It just sometimes it isn't their fault. It just sometimes the things that have happened to them are out of their control. So I went with a C for them.
I went C-, a little bit lower than what Anthony had, just because of that terrible start. You know, 0-6 on the season. If we were talking about this 2 weeks ago, it would probably be an F. You know, but they've turned things around now. They're back in this. We'll see in 4 weeks if they've made any ground in the standings. But right now, I think when you're looking at a team that a lot of people are picking to win the division, and now they started off losing their first 6 games, you know, it's been a rough season for the Giants. I say C-.
I'm going with a C because just the way like you said, Ross, they started off terribly. They're progressing, but the wins haven't been actually against great teams. You look at Minnesota and you look at Philadelphia. What are those teams going to be doing? Not sure about them. Now let's go to probably the most inconsistent team in the NFL, the New York Jets. At 4-4, every odd week they win, every even week they lose. Geno looks great sometimes, and then other weeks, like we saw in Cincinnati, absolutely dreadful. What are your grades for the Jets mid-season?
I give them a B+. I think they have exceeded everyone's expectations. I know no one thought they would be like even 4-4. Geno Smith has been very inconsistent, but in the weeks he's played well, he's played very well. In the weeks he's played bad, he's played very bad. Their defense with Sheldon Richardson and Muhammad Wilkerson has just been dominating defense. So I give them a B plus. They're right in the thick of things. They could make a wild card spot in a weak AFC conference.
Yeah, I agree. I put B plus. It's hard after that loss to Cincinnati to really feel good about this team, but look at right now. There's only one team ahead of them in the wild card race, other than Denver. It's San Diego at 4-3. They were very impressive against New England 2 weeks ago. You've seen when that defense plays well, when that defense makes plays, and Geno doesn't turn the ball over, they're a tough team to beat, and especially at home when they're playing in front of their home fans. So I think for being ranked 32nd at the beginning of the season in the power rankings, it's been a pretty successful season so far.
Yeah, for being the way they were going to be projected at the beginning of the season, I'm giving them a solid B. They're very inconsistent, and I really want to see this team actually win back-to-back games for once to be a legit team. But they're right, like you said, Ross, only a half a game behind the Chargers. They are definitely in this playoff hunt in the AFC. Now we're going to finish up with the Buffalo Bills at 3-5. They are a feisty team. They lost. We saw them lost to the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. What is your grades for them?
I give them a B. No one thought they would be 3-5, and the 17 points they scored against the Saints was actually the only time this season they didn't score 20 points or over. When E.J. Manuel went down, that was a big injury, but Thad Lewis has came in, played very well. C.J. Spiller's been a non-factor, which has been even more magical as to why they're 3-5. Not magical is not the right word, but it's an even more of a shock. Their defense has played well. At times, they've got burned by big plays at other times, and they play very scrappy. Teams do not want to play them.
Yeah, I almost want to give them an I for incomplete, because it's hard to say how good this team could be if E.J. Manuel is starting all 8 games. You know, you give Thad Lewis credit for stepping in and doing a serviceable job as the backup, but you know, E.J. Manuel was very exciting that first couple weeks, that first game when they came within a stone's throw of beating New England. You know, then, you know, he got hurt, and now the Bills are kind of fading down a little bit. But I think Doug Marrone has done a commendable job. You know, a lot of people had question marks about him coming into this season because he came from Syracuse and he didn't have that much success with the Orange. But, you know, he's proven that he has what it takes to be an NFL coach. If him and E.J. Manuel can kind of, you know, work together to grow as a unit, I think this team could be, you know, a really solid team in a couple years.
Yeah, you were talking about Thad Lewis and EJ. EJ hoping to be back on the field in a couple weeks for the Bills. Do you think he takes over as soon as he gets back as a starting QB, even though Thad has done great but not good?
Most definitely. E.J. Manuel is the starter of this team. He's getting back right into it as soon as he comes back. There's no doubt in my mind that E.J. Manuel is the starter when he comes back.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think EJ's got to get as many starts as he can this year.
Yeah. Anyways, I gave my B minus grade for the Bills, mostly because of the games they probably should have won and they allowed to lose. Anyways, let's talk about another interesting topic in the NFL, and it goes. We'll see how the teams do for the second half of the season, but it is a huge topic in the NFL, and it is the possibility of a team going to London. We had our game, San Francisco and the Jacksonville Jaguars, this Sunday in London. They've had 2 games this season. They're going to have 3 games next season. There are more and more games happening overseas in London. Do you see a possibility of a team ever being in over in London in the NFL?
I see a possibility, but I don't really like it. I think it's not a good decision. Just the emotional and physical and mental exhaustion that it will just take on all of the players with the jet lag and whatnot being involved going back and forth. I just don't see it as a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you've seen people, you know, sell out games when there's individual games in London, but I worry about having an entire season's worth of games there. You know, NFL Europa didn't really take off. The British Football League, you know, folded. And I think it's going to be real tough for teams to be competitive. You know, you see it in the NBA when teams don't even want to go to Toronto, when that's only, you know, you have to drive across the border. Trying to get free agents to go to a franchise in London, you know, that's just going to be really tough to do because, you know, the whole, like Anthony said, the exhaustion, the mental exhaustion, the physical exhaustion of having to go back and forth between continents every week. I think you'd almost have to do it so they have 5 or 6 home games in a row, or else they're just not going to be competitive.
Yeah. Well, even though it may be almost impossible, I would love to see the NFL expand overseas. So the NBA tipped off tonight, and there are some big expectations for the Brooklyn Nets. We'll talk to them as well as the Knicks as we see the season playing out for both teams after a quick break. Keep it here on WTOP.
My name is LaDainian Tomlinson. By keeping kids in school, I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
Got a good thing going and I wanna see it end. Oh no, no, no.
Hi, we're Real Big Fish.
And you're watching WTOP 10.
Like the number.
The 2013 Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
Down 70 to 35, and the Cougars were getting smoked like a cheap cigar.
This can't be happening. This can't be happening.
Of course it's not happening. Armored car. Listen, having money isn't about luck. Make your own coffee, save $1,000 a year. Feed me.
Feed the pig.
Empire Sports. Now the NBA season is officially underway, and there is a whole new era in Brooklyn. Now, guys, the Knicks have been great the past couple years, but have the Nets surpassed the Knicks as the kings of NYC?
We'll see about that, Matt. I'm not sure how good the Nets are actually going to be. On paper, I like their team a lot more, but for the Knicks, there's always the Melo factor. And just for the Nets, we'll see how they mesh. They haven't really played a lot together yet, and the Lakers failed last year when everyone thought they were going to be easy title contenders. So we'll see how the Nets actually do. I have my doubts about them, to be honest.
You know, I think it's interesting. I agree with Anthony a lot about how, you know, you see these teams, these super teams come together. We saw it in basketball last year with the Lakers, and then, you know, they fail. But I think for the Nets, they've got 82 games to figure this out. The season for them is the playoffs.
Yes, for
if
sure.
they can get into the top 4 in the East, get themselves at least one home series, I don't think anybody wants to play them in the playoffs. If Miami's drawing them in the second round of the playoffs, I think they're scared. You've got Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Brooke Lopez as your starting 5, with Jason Terry, Andre Karolinko, Andre Blatch coming off the bench. Like Anthony said, on paper, that's tough to beat. I mean, they've got all the talent in the world. It'll be interesting to see how Jason Kidd does in terms of how does he fit all these pieces together, because they're all there, but does the puzzle fit? And I think we'll find out.
Yeah, like last season with the Nets, they weren't able to get past that first round, trying to make the next step. We saw the Knicks making it through the first round, but then losing to the Pacers in 6 games in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Do you think, as a team overall, the Knicks are legit contenders in the Eastern Conference?
Like I said, it's all about the Melo factor. Carmelo will have to carry this team, and if he does it well, the Knicks will be a contender. If he does not do it well, the Knicks will maybe struggle to make a playoff spot. Melo has to be Melo. He can't. He has to be above and beyond what we've seen from Melo. He has to be a distributor. He has to kind of do everything for this team in order to succeed.
You know, I think it's interesting with the Knicks. I don't like the Andre Bargnani trade. I think it makes them worse defensively in an area where they were getting beat up last year in the playoff series against Indiana, and then they go out and they get a weak, you know, finesse-minded center to go in there. You know, is Amari Stoudemire going to be healthy? Is he going to contribute much to this team? You know, how is Iman Shumpert going to turn out? How, you know, is Raymond Felton going to show up in shape for the whole season? I think there's too many question marks with this Knicks team. And right now, you know, I see Miami, Chicago, Indiana, and Brooklyn all being ahead of them right now. in terms of Eastern Conference teams.
So where do you see the Nets in the order of the Eastern Conference? Well, again, just one place. Where are they in the Eastern Conference right now for you?
I want to say 4th, just because the East is kind of a weak conference, but I could honestly see them slipping down to 6th or 7th.
Ross?
I think 4th. I would not be surprised if we had a Brooklyn, New York first-round playoff series 4-5.
That would be great. Well, when we come back, we are going to talk some hockey as the Sabres and Islanders were involved in a major trade this past weekend. Stay tuned. You're watching Empire Sports.
Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, now I'm Naked Cowboy, coming to a town near you. You're watching WTOP TV 10, Oswego, New York. I'm Naked Cowboy.
The 2013 Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
Hi, I'm CNN's Rob Marciano, and you're watching WTOP 10, your television station.
I present to you Algebra 2. Foreign languages. And finally, biology. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Me.
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college.
We are back here on WTOP 10. You're watching Empire Sports. Now, we knew this was going to be a tough season to watch as a Sabres fan, a team that is full of young faces and they are a rebuilding phase. Now, we have talked about both on this show previously and on the Empire Sports radio show, which you can listen to every Sunday, 12 to 2 on WNYO 88.9, what the Sabres should do with the 2 stars, Thomas Vanek and Ryan Miller. Now, we saw it on Sunday. The Sabres dealt Vanek to the New York Islanders for Matt Moulson and a first and second round pick. What is your reaction from this trade, guys?
I think they stole from the Islanders. I think they just flat up, went in there and ransacked them. The fact that they got Matt Moulson, who is basically just a little bit of a worse incarnation of Thomas Vanek, a first-round pick and a second-round pick, I think they did really well on this trade. If they're in rebuilding mode, they really did it right this time. Good move by Darcy Regier.
Yeah, I understand it from the perspective of the Islanders. They want to win now. They want to get Vanek in there in the lineup and make a push in the Eastern Conference this year. But I really like Buffalo at this point. They're not going anywhere this year. They got Moulson, who, like Anthony said, is a talented player. He's going to help their younger guys, build up this year. And they got draft picks, and that's going to be huge for them because it's going to be maybe difficult to get free agents in Buffalo the next couple of years. We'll see how the talent goes. But, the way that you rebuild is you stockpile draft picks, and now they've got 2 more that they can add. And that can be the future of their franchise.
Yeah, I was going to ask you next, but I think you already know what you're going to say. Do the Sabres benefit more from this trade?
Absolutely. Absolutely they do. There is no doubt in my mind that this trade was the right move to make. I'm very pleased as a Sabres fan that they actually got that much for Thomas Vanek.
Yeah, what about Moulson? Now, we know Moulson's in his last year of his contract. Do you see Moulson re-signing with the Sabres for future years?
Honestly, I would like them to just flip Moulson at the deadline for more picks. Matt Moulson is 29 years old. He's a productive player. He will be good for a contending team that needs a goal scorer. The Sabres have no use for him. They just traded basically him in Thomas Vanek. They need more picks at this point, and they can get more picks for Matt Moulson if he plays well.
I disagree. I think they need to try and re-sign Matt Molson because when you're looking at Buffalo, you're almost looking at a blank slate right now. They need to try and build something for the future. And, they don't necessarily know for sure that they're going to get sure bets in the draft. But you know for sure what you're going to get with Matt Molson. He's a talented player, maybe not an elite player, but he's a guy that you can say, hey, we're on the right track. We got Molson in here. We re-signed him for 3 or 4 years. He's going to provide solid, forward power for our team, and then you can kind of build around him.
So let's stick with the Sabres now. There are a lot of suspensions coming from this team. We saw Patrick Coletta get a 10-game suspension. We saw John Scott get suspended for indefinitely. Who knows when he's going to be able to come back? Maybe he's out for the whole entire season. Ron Wilson, can he control his players? Is unacceptable hard hits on the opponents, Anthony?
No, I really don't think he can. His team is very undisciplined. I did not like the decision to hire him as a coach personally. I thought they should have gone another direction. I wasn't very happy with the Ron Rolston decision, and I think it's showing that he was maybe not the right decision to go as coach of the Sabres.
Yeah, Ross?
Boy, it's one thing to be one of the worst teams in the NHL, but then when you have this whole factor of not being able to control your players, to have questionable decisions with putting Scott into the game, having in the preseason he had the issue, now it's again in the regular season. We saw Mike Milbury, a prominent NHL analyst, say, this guy needs to be fired. And I don't know if I necessarily go that far with it yet, but when your team's 2-11, you've got guys getting suspended, you're not winning any games, you've got one of the worst defenses in the league, you've got one of the worst offenses in the league, maybe it's time for a shakeup. We saw Peter Laviolette go after 4 games this year. So I'm not surprised if he doesn't make it through the month of November.
Yeah, we saw that brawl in Toronto, crazy scene in preseason. Now let's move over to the other New York team, the New York Rangers. At 3-7, they lost their season opener to the Montreal Canadiens. We saw they sent Marty Biron down to the minors, and then he decided to just retire. This is a team that many hopes for this team. It's not working out for them.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure what happened here. Again, on paper, they look like a great team. But something just hasn't worked out for them this year, and it's really been a disappointment. Henrik Lundqvist has not played well. The offense has not shown up at all. It's just really weird to see what has happened to this team. I'm not quite sure how to explain this one.
Ross?
Yeah, it's weird. The goal scoring just hasn't been there for this team. Lundqvist has been a shell of what we had seen of him in the past. But I think for the Rangers, the fans have to be a little patient. It's a long season. They won tonight against the Islanders. Things seem to be slowly creeping in the right direction. And with the new playoff format, it's a little easier to move up in your division to grab maybe that 4th spot and sneak into the playoffs. So I think for Rangers fans, I say be patient, but it's not been an ideal start for them.
Not at all. Well, we are going to take one last final break. We are going to wrap this up with some fact or fiction, or with Halloween only a couple days, should I say trick or treat. Don't touch that dial. You're watching Empire Sports here on WTOP 10.
Questions?
What is your soup of the day?
We have a mulligatawny soup.
Oh, do you have any specials?
We have a steak special today.
Oh, how's that cooked?
That's pan-seared and then...
Does it come with a side dish? Is it grilled? Can I have it steamed? So what do you recommend? What kind of pie do you have? You an actor. Aren't you from Ohio?
Any questions?
Ask questions. For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
Hi, I'm Al Roker, class of 76, Oswego State University. You're watching WTOP, Channel 10. We didn't have this when I was in school. We just had radio and smoke signals.
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
Savac ambulance respond to a 1 Bravo response, basement of Cuba Hall.
Dispatch, Savac 1, en route.
Hey, we're with SAVAC. How can we help you today?
Hello everyone. Well, we only have a few minutes left on this edition of Empire Sports, but before we go, last part of the show, I would like to tell you that Empire Sports is now on social media. Like our Facebook page, Empire Sports. Also follow us at Empire Sports OZ on Twitter. As I said earlier, Empire Sports is also on WNYO. Listen to us every Sunday, 12 to 2, as we talk about your favorite New York State teams. We are going to switch it over to our favorite game here on Empire Sports, Fact or Fiction, and with Halloween only a couple days away, I'm going to call it Trick or Treat. You guys ready, guys?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, first question. Do the Jets keep up their winning ways on the odd week and beat the New Orleans Saints on Sunday?
This is a trick. The Saints are a good team. The Saints, the Bengals beat the Jets 49-9. The Saints should have no problem going by the Jets.
Yeah, this is a real trick. If Andy Dalton throws 5 touchdowns against you, I don't want to know what Drew Brees is going to do.
I'm saying treat. It's not at the Superdome. The Saints are weak. Well, not weak, but they are vulnerable, not at home. I say the Jets win that game. Next question. Do the Brooklyn Nets make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Just make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
This is a trick. You have teams like the Miami Heat who are going to be there, the Indiana Pacers who are going to be there, the Chicago Bulls who are going to be there. I don't think the Nets make it to the conference finals.
Yeah, this is a real razor blade in your apple type trick situation here. I don't see it happening. You got the Nets maybe have to go up against Miami in the second round, maybe Indiana. That's going to be real tough. I think this team, they got the talent, but these other teams have the experience. I don't think so.
Okay, and with the Sabres, they are getting all these draft picks. Do they make the playoffs next season?
This is a trick. This is a dirty, filthy trick. The Sabres do not make the playoffs next season. The Sabres don't make the playoffs for probably another 3 to 4 years.
If Ron Rolson is still their coach, then they're going to be tricking for a long time. They're not going to make the playoffs with him behind the bench. This is a trick.
Finally, okay, we're going to take it and end it right there. I would like to thank Anthony and Ross for being on the show tonight. Thanks, guys. You can tune in again in 2 weeks' time, same place here on WTOP 10. Thank you for watching Empire Sports, and good night, everybody.
'13 Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
The Oswego MBA program, helping you achieve your goals with a customized curriculum developed with flexibility in mind. Take classes year-round, full or part-time in Oswego, online or at the Metro Center in downtown Syracuse. More information is available online or by calling 315-312-2911.
Got a good thing going, and I wanna see it end. Oh, no, no, no.
Hi, we're Real Big Fish.
And you're watching WTOP 10.
Like the number.
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
You ever think about buying a bigger place? Just waiting for a visit from the credit fairy. There is no credit fairy. How else will I get a better credit score? Look, you keep your credit card balances low and only open a new card if you really need it. No fairy?
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.